Welcome back to the Playdate by Freshly Picked. I'm your host, Kaitlin Hansen.
And I'm Mckenzie Richins.
Mckenzie, how's it going?
Going good.
Good.
You know.
I felt like the day was going to be even warmer today because the sun was shining, but it looks now like it's going to be cold outside when we go back out there.
Yeah, it's really tricking us.
It
got really hot last week.
Yeah.
Like we were in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And then it rained for 4 days and was not fun for the whole
It's yanking my chain.
mental game is getting warmer, but it's a very slow.
Yeah.
We're very slow.
I just want to be outside. I feel like during this time, when the sun starts coming out, I come back to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
My soul needs the sunshine.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that note, today we are talking about mental and emotional health during pregnancy.
Yes.
So both you and I are, struggle with some anxiety.
We do.
How is that kind of played into pregnancy for you?
It definitely plays a part for sure. I have had a very long journey when it comes to mental health. I try to be very open about it, but I'm not one of those ones that is open in the sense of I share on social media, which I don't feel like one way or the other you need to be. It's hard because I will talk to anyone, and we have a very close group of girlfriends, and we all kind of lean on each other if we're having mental hard times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've had an opportunity to be able to not necessarily help people, but just be able to share my experience and then kind of see if what we can do to I think people.
Right. No, I think help is definitely, you've been there for me during my tough times and have helped me out and helped schedule appointments, recommend people. So
and same you for me. And I think that, so when I've always had anxiety. I was a very anxious child as well. It's funny because when you kind of look into mental health and look back at your childhood, you realize that it's always been there. I don't know if that has happened to you, but when I was 24, I was diagnosed with OCD. So that's obsessive compulsive disorder. With that, I think that everyone thinks that OCD is, and it can be.
Yeah.
Very much
it looks a lot of different ways.
Yes. It's I need to hit light switches 4 times. I need to, or something will happen, or you're very clean. People will be I'm super OCD. I just am very clean. I think it's important for me to note that I have been diagnosed. I see a doctor. It's very much internal and it's mental for me. I have it in ways of my mind. I have compulsions. It fluctuates. So for me, when I was a child, I was very nervous that my parents were gonna pass away or things like that made me very nervous as a kid.
Yeah.
And I would have very bad dreams as a child. And one of the little compulsions that I had is my mom was okay, well, let's just say our prayers at night.
Yeah.
And so we would say a very specific prayer. And then the night that I went to bed that night, I didn't have any bad dreams.
Yeah.
So I had to say that exact prayer every night to make sure that those my bad dreams would. And if I didn't say that prayer, I would be terrified that I'd have these nightmares.
Yeah.
So that can be that is a sign of OCD as a child. It's very different, but it has been in my life my whole life.
Yeah.
And I have learned and had to learn how my brain works and how I can help my mental health throughout very different experiences.
Yeah.
So going through relationship breakups, I had to learn all these things. Anyways, long story short, through all the milestones of life, your OCD will shift and kind of go into different things. Being pregnant has been different, especially because it is very hard on your mental health to begin with.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think I spoke about this on our last update, but I had a miscarriage at 10 weeks with our first pregnancy. So when I was newly pregnant this time around, I very much any trigger that we had from our last pregnancy, or like, because I had what's called a miscarriage. So when that day hit, like I very much was triggered that all of these things were going to happen again, because that's kind of how my brain works. And so the first trimester, I think there was added anxiety just given the way that I experience life is just, I'm always concerned about everything. So,
I think that makes sense. And I think too, speaking about it from a miscarriage perspective too, I think that it's hard not to have anxiety with a pregnancy after loss.
Yeah. And you were super great and supportive throughout this whole thing because you actually have had miscarriages before me. And so it just is, it's a different experience that you have. Like sometimes I think it's also important for people that are in the loss community to know that it's okay to like miss what it was like before loss. Like,
for sure.
You don't realize that like, oh, I didn't worry about any of those things the first time around.
Yeah.
And then this time around, you know so much more.
Right.
And you know what grief feels like.
And you know what can go wrong. And you know it at what point.
You know, with like my first pregnancy, everything was good. We did the viability check. We had the scans, and then their little heart just stopped beating, and that just happens.
Totally.
And so like, I think that is also another level. I think that really when people talk about pregnancy, they don't really kind of bring in the mental aspect. And if they do, they kind of just brush by it.
Right.
But you are going to have days. The first trimester is very taxing on your mental health because one day you can be totally fine and you feel good about it. And the next day you feel like everything is not right. There's something bad that's happening.
Yeah.
And all of those things are very normal to feel. And I think that just giving, and I say this all the time, just giving yourself grace about, and it's such just a delicate time to be in. And even if like everything is going well in your pregnancy, you're going to still like in those so many terms, it's just such a variety of things that you experience throughout the day. And the thing too is that you are experiencing it every single day.
Yeah.
That is your life for 10 months. Like you are pregnant, your body feels different, you feel things every day. And that is like, it's okay to be able to like talk about it and have people just kind of express like how you're feeling day to day. I have a very supportive husband that helps me so much because even this last weekend, in the last episode that we were just talking about, we had our anatomy scan. We're doing, everything's well. Our little baby's doing great. But Saturday, I just was having a hard day.
Yeah.
And like, it just kind of gets to you. And I think it's good to like, I think I just like cried.
Yeah.
I just
and
cried.
That's totally okay.
And he just let me, and he just like listened. And then I think it's so important to one, kind of know your limits, know when you feel anxious, know all those things. And then also have somebody to kind of walk you through things if that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I have really tried and worked very hard to try. I have a therapist, and you know, whatever works for you to like be able to kind of feel stable with your mental health. But I have a therapist that is dedicated to help with people with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, obsessive compulsive thoughts. And she has been a big, huge help when it comes to, you know, she meets with me every other week, and she really just walks me through all the things that I feel during pregnancy.
Yeah.
So,
which I think is so good you do that, because I think for a lot of people, anything that you may have going on, just like with the hormones and being pregnant, it's amplified.
It is. It's definitely amplified.
And that can feel really scary.
Yeah. And it's also, just having an outlet and having someone that can give you a different perspective has been very helpful for me. I've had her for the past year. She's been through, you know, like me getting married, the first pregnancy, loss after that pregnancy, this pregnancy. Like she has walked me through everything, and it has been very, very helpful. So I would say there's lots of things that you can do. And also like you can reach out to people. If you feel like you don't have someone that like gets it, truly, you can reach out to me.
Reach out to our Playdate moms.
I will. I would love to like, I get mental health. I get how alone it can feel. So it's a heavy topic, but it's also like having an outlet to talk to people. It's so wonderful and it makes you feel like you're not alone. And that is like a big thing. And that's why I've always been very open about talking about it, and also like people can talk about it. And it's okay, and you can discuss it, and it helps kind of just to like, just
get it out.
Mind spill. Just brainstorm.
No, I like that. I think for me in my pregnancies and like the anxiety, I think it came from I was actually very fortunate during my pregnancy with my first. I had struggled with anxiety and like my whole life, and it almost kind of seemed to like go away. And I was pretty like naive to everything. So it's like at that point, you're just not really thinking about all this stuff. Like I almost felt like my anxiety went away.
Yeah. And
then what was frustrating though is I like felt so much guilt because there were so many people around me, and it wasn't the people making me feel this way, but it was just obviously my own internal like battle and struggles. But there were so many people around me that were struggling with infertility.
Yes.
And I felt so guilty ever like complaining or like anything like that, or being like, oh my gosh, because all of the people were like, oh, I would kill to be having a baby right now. And so, which I think when you're in that, like, yeah, you're grateful. Like, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, you can be grateful to have a baby and still voice, your thoughts and your feelings, because pregnancy isn't a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you can hold both for sure. Like, I think that, and I think that is what's hard with being pregnant, is that you are always going to know somebody and that has gone through something so horrible, and you feel for them, you do, but like there is still room to hold every single situation, every single topic that someone is going through, and you can be pregnant and things are going well, and you can still just like be sick and not feel good and having a lot of mental things going on. Like it's okay to kind of hold both at the same time.
Yeah. And like my heart goes out. I mean, like I could cry if I cry all the time. But like if somebody tells me that they're like struggling with infertility, like I feel so blessed and grateful in my life that like it makes me truly emotional when people tell me that they're struggling with that, because that just is so hard and it's so out of your control. So like my heart goes out to those people. But yeah, I think that was like one of the hardest parts for me. And then toward the end of my second pregnancy, I just had felt like almost more like depressed, where I was like, I'm just so sick of being sick.
Yep.
And I actually hear that from like a lot of people, where they're like, I'm just sick and uncomfortable and like I'm done. Like you really, I think the last like few weeks start to kind of play with your mental.
Right. Well, and with your first baby, you have said that you felt completely
incredible
fine until, because you went over.
Yeah, I went overdue. Yeah.
And then
it was rough.
Yeah.
Those days after my due date, I was angry. I was irritable. I was like, if one more person asks me today if the baby is coming, I'm going to lose it. Like it felt very dark to me, and that's understandable. I'm like, I was overdue. So I'm like, but what you're feeling is normal. It is okay. And reach out to people for help. There are so many people that love and care about you, and your mental health is so, so important. So please talk to somebody.
Yep. I would just say, like, before pregnancy, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, I mean, it's a whole journey. And
it is.
I'm just in the thick of it now. Like, we're almost 23 weeks and we still have a ways to go. And then postpartum is a thing as well. So just know the signs, know your body, and be open to anything that's going to happen, I think, and like understand and just give yourself grace.
I love that. Well, thank you everybody for listening in. We will see you next time.
Thanks.